Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
Media silent as Trump administration gives power over gun control to federal agencies. While the media focuses on Trump's lack of support for an increase in age requirements for gun owners, his support for a bill that would put every American's Second Amendment rights in jeopardy has been ignored. By Rachel Blevins, March 14, 2018. The Trump administration has announced its support for a number of measures involving gun control, and not surprisingly, the mainstream media has chosen to highlight the measure that would have little effect, while ignoring the administration's support for a bill that would have a devastating impact on the Second Amendment. CNBC's headline said, "Trump gun proposal skips age limits, focuses on teaching educators how to use guns instead," and BBC News went with "Trump drops calls to raise guns age limit." The media's coverage has relied heavily on the idea that if the legal minimum age requirement for gun purchases was raised from 18 to 21, then it may have an effect on stopping mass shootings without taking any other legitimate factors into consideration. On 18 to 21 age limits, watching court cases and rulings before acting. States are making this decision, Trump wrote on Twitter. Things are moving rapidly on this, but not much political support, to put it mildly. Donald J. Trump. Heavy checkmark. At Real Donald Trump. On 18 to 21 age limits, watching court cases and rulings before acting. States are making this decision. Things are moving rapidly on this, but not much political support, to put it mildly. 9:22 a.m., March 12, 2018. 53.3K. 28K people are talking about this. Twitter adds info and privacy. However, while the media focused on Trump's response to age requirements, they ignored the support he pledged for one of the most egregious bills being considered by Congress. H.R. 4477, the Fix NICS Act, states that it would amend the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act to require each federal agency and department, including a federal court, to certify whether it has provided to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS, disqualifying records of persons prohibited from receiving or possessing a firearm. As the Free Thought Project reported in December, the Fix NICS Act will pressure federal agencies and states to report as many names as possible to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, making it only a matter of time before this list becomes so large that nearly any activity could serve to remove your Second Amendment rights. Although versions of the bill have been proposed in both the Senate and the House, and have received support from Republicans, Democrats, and even the National Rifle Association, Representative Thomas Massie warned that Congress will try to pass the Fix NICS Act by rolling it into another bill that looks harmless. Congress first tried to accomplish this in late 2017 by including the Fix NICS Act in H.R. 38, the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act, which states that its purpose is to amend the federal criminal code to allow a qualified individual to carry a concealed handgun into or possess a concealed handgun in another state that allows individuals to carry concealed firearms. When that bill was stalled, they shifted their attention to H.R. 4909, the Stop School Violence Act, which is supposed to be voted on this week. Massie warned that the supporters of the Fix NICS Act will use the Stop School Violence Act to sugarcoat it, in order to obtain their original objective. Representative Massie summed up the Fix NICS Act by noting that it encourages administrative agencies, not the courts, to submit more names to a national database that will determine whether you can or can't obtain a firearm. When President Obama couldn't get Congress to pass gun control, he implemented a strategy of compelling, through administrative rules, the Veterans Administration and the Social Security Administration to submit lists of veterans and seniors, many of whom never had a day in court, to be included in the NICS database of people prohibited from owning a firearm, Massie said. Only a state court, a federal, Article 3, court, or a military court, should ever be able to suspend your rights for any significant period of time. Donald J. Trump. Heavy checkmark. At Real Donald Trump. Very strong improvement and strengthening of background checks will be fully backed by White House legislation moving forward. Bump stocks will soon be out. Highly trained expert teachers will be allowed to conceal carry, subject to state law. Armed guards okay, deterrent. 9:15 a.m., March 12, 2018. 78.7K. 31.8K people are talking about this. Twitter adds info and privacy. While Trump took to Twitter to claim that a very strong improvement and strengthening of background checks will be fully backed by White House, he failed to mention that the legislation to implement background checks has serious flaws, and its consequences go far beyond his time in office. Now that the Trump administration has officially pledged its support for the Fix NICS Act, and the mainstream media has done the same by refusing to report on the blatant problems that exist within the legislation, it serves as a reminder that the real divide exists not between Democrats and Republicans, but between the establishment and the people.
Hi, this is Congressman Thomas Massie here. We've got about a week to act. I want to let you know what's going on in Congress as far as gun control goes. You've heard a lot of ideas being floated in the news, raising the legal age to buy a long gun, for instance, or a new assault weapons ban. Any number of bad things have been mentioned, but I wanted to boil it down for you. What's actually going to happen, the gun control play they're going to run here in Congress, is the one that I unfortunately predicted back in December. Remember back in December, they put the National Concealed Carry Reciprocity on the floor, and I warned folks when they put inside of it a bill called Fix NICS that they were sneaking into it gun control that was endorsed by Senator Feinstein and Senator Schumer. Well, unfortunately, that warning has turned out to be true. I want to play you a little bit of my prediction. This is back in December. I did a podcast with Daniel Horowitz at Conservative Review.
Now, don't get me wrong. They're not going to do this without some cover. They will wait for the next crisis. They'll wait for the next shooting where the NICS system failed.
So here we are. We're at the next crisis. Now, our leadership promised members here in Congress that they would not bring the Fix NICS bill, the gun control bill, to the floor if they didn't at least bring the reciprocity bill with it the same way they did it previously. And 40 members of Congress thanked them for their promise and then sent them a letter that said, we write to communicate that we will oppose any attempt to bring Fix NICS to the floor of the House for a vote unless it includes language substantially similar to or identical to that of H.R. 38. H.R. 38 was the reciprocity bill. See, I told all these guys they were getting set up by leadership that the reciprocity bill was just a Trojan horse and that this Fix NICS bill would come back without reciprocity attached to it. Now, why is this so bad? What's wrong with the Fix NICS bill? Well, there's a problem at the VA right now. I've heard from people that work at the VA, and I've heard from veterans who've encountered this problem. If you tell the VA that somebody else manages your money, they can take away your right to own a gun. They put you in the NICS database, but it also, not only can you not go to a store and buy a gun, it's illegal for you to possess a gun or even to possess ammunition. And veterans are getting thrown into this system every day. They're having their right to own a gun stripped merely because they say they don't manage their own finances. This is an Obama-era policy that was put into place, and it's part of, it stems from the last time they tried to fix NICS in 2007, 2008. They passed a bill called the NICS Improvement Amendments Act, which metastasized into the Obama gun control plan at the VA. Now, my colleagues in Congress, they know the problem exists at the VA. They're totally ignoring it now. Here's how I know they know. Because a year ago, almost to the week, in March, we passed a bill called, it was 1181, the Veterans Second Amendment Protection Act, that was going to fix the problem at the VA where veterans were being deprived of the Second Amendment rights without due process, no judicial review. Does that sound familiar? Well, it passed the House. Almost every Republican voted for it. Some Democrats voted for it. and then it stalled in the Senate. Now, that's the problem that exists. That's the problem that every member of Congress knows about because they saw this debate last year. And that's the problem that's being ignored, and that's the problem that's going to get worse if they pass Fix Nix. What Fix Nix does, this has been introduced by Cornyn in the Senate, and it has Feinstein and Schumer's full support, in fact, our co-sponsors. What Fix Nix does is it throws money at the states to put more names into the database, and it penalizes people, workers at the VA, if they don't rigorously turn in these veterans' names into the Nix database. Now, they're pretending this has something to do with the shooting in Florida. It has nothing to do with the shooting in Florida. I just came from a briefing given by the deputy director of the FBI, where they explained how the FBI got all these tips and then ignored them. They dropped the ball. Folks, those folks that are working at the FBI, they need canned, they need fired, they shouldn't have a job right now. And Fix Nix doesn't even do that. It wouldn't even do anything to take away their bonuses for their lack of performance there. So Fix Nix, anybody that's being honest about this will tell you, would do nothing to stop the school shooting that happened in Florida. It's an unserious solution. If you want a serious one, how about my Safe Students Act that I've introduced every term that I've been in Congress? It's H.R. 34 this year, would repeal the Federal Gun-Free School Zone Act of 1990. That's a serious solution. Until we start doing things like that, we're just advertising our children as being vulnerable in these schools, in these gun-free zones, because as you well know, 98% of mass public shootings happen in a gun-free zone. I say put our kids in the 2% where they're safe instead of the 98% where they are vulnerable. Now, am I just, being chicken little here? Am I saying something that's not going to happen? No. Our leadership has announced they are bringing Fix Nix to the floor next week. That's why we only have about a week. They're going to sugarcoat it. They're going to put like a gel capsule around this gun control bill. The sugarcoating is H.R. 4909. It's called the Stop School Violence Act. It reauthorizes some 1968 program. Look, if this program worked, we wouldn't have had any mass school shootings since 1968. They know this is an unserious bill. But what they're doing again is they're wrapping this horrible gun control, Fix Nix, that deprives veterans of the right to keep and bear arms after they've served our country, they put their lives on the line. It takes that horrible bill, Fix Nix, and it puts a little wrapper around it that's called the Stop School Violence Act. This is very disingenuous because the Stop School Violence Act won't stop school violence. The gun control bill that they're hiding in the Stop School Violence Act won't stop school violence. And they're bringing it to the floor next week. I need your help. Let Congress know you do not want gun control. This is not why you put Republicans in charge of the House, in charge of the Senate, and in the White House. You didn't put us in here to pass gun control. And that's all you're going to get next week unless somebody convinces these guys to stop.
County, this is Sheriff County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago. And so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Sheriff County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it. So I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say, actually yes, $1 $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, you know, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, you know, at least I can do it. You know, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, you know, if I got, you know, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.